We created a game where you control a massive band of tiny dwarves and build a mighty cathedral. This was a real passion project. There's just something awe-inspiring about these incredible churches. Their mix of artistry and mind-boggling engineering never ceases to impress and intrigue. In this video, we'll tell you how this game was made, and trust us, it was a real adventure. First things first, here's the team. I'm Noah, this is my brother Liam, and we form Blackthorn Prod. To create Dwarves and Cathedrals, we used the Unity game engine, Visual Studio for coding, and Photoshop for art. There's a couple nice PCs, although most simple laptops could have done the trick, and a Wacom drawing tablet.
Next up, funding. How could we afford spending a couple of weeks developing a game? Well, we're lucky and we found a great sponsor, Stream.
This is an awesome Unity integration that will allow you to implement a full chat and feed system inside of your game. For example, if you wanted to make a chat system for your online multiplayer RPG, then Stream would be one of the best solutions you could choose. We even made a two-part tutorial series on Stream, which will show you exactly how to get it working inside of Unity, step by step. So whether you want to make a fun clan system, the next Among Us, or a beautiful chat for your open world MMO, then Stream should be your go-to solution. You can apply for Stream's maker accounts to use Stream's chat SDK for free using the link in the description. Okay, so as I mentioned in the first devlog, our goal was to create a simplified, fantasy-like simulation of how a beautiful cathedral is built. Nothing about this game is realistic, but there's just something extremely satisfying about seeing a wonderful monument slowly take shape. From the back-breaking efforts of your tiny, grey-faced minions to the turning cogs of steep, fiddly elevators, we tried to create a minimalist strategy game with a theme I hope to return to many times more in the future: the building of giant, godlike monuments that will stand the test of time.
I joined the team as the main programmer for this project. But as is often the case in small teams, we have to wear multiple hats and tip our toes into different areas of game development: sound, UI, design, animations, and so on. So
we picked up from where we left off on the first devlog, where we had the possibility to build cathedral pieces, elevators, place dwarves, and just really raise beautiful spires, domes, and so However, it was way too easy, and building a cathedral should be anything but. So the main task we were faced with was making the experience more challenging, and so we added some monsters, fiery red creatures that come from the bowels of the earth, intent on tearing down this godly wonder. The grotesques target your little resource-producing village, while the imps charge at your cathedral. Of course, to counter these beastly nightmares, we have priest towers that shoot glowing projectiles at the nearest foe.
There's of course a far larger nightmare in store, so I won't spoil you here, but go ahead and play the game so you could check it yourself.
When I wasn't working on the project, I was either learning to draw better architecture, making a large amount of inky sketches and all kinds of cathedrals, windows, spires, and pillars. I'm also slowly discovering the importance and joy of being more curious. If I'm making a game about cathedrals, then I should learn a bit about them, how they were built and their history. Perhaps even visit a couple, sit inside and draw. So a couple months ago, I read a great book by Walter Isaacson about Leonardo da Vinci. In it, he describes this incredible engineer, scientist, and artist who was curious, relentlessly curious. He found connections between apparently remote and separate fields, wrote to-do lists with tasks such as describe the tongue of a woodpecker or learn about the placenta of a calf. He looked at the world with eager, brilliant eyes and sought knowledge for its own sake, and in doing so was able to explore more horizons and see more connections than anyone else of his era. This inspired me to not limit my world to only games and the computer screen, but look outwards, study various fields, and go on adventures, with the goal to take everything I learn and experience and meld it into my work as a game creator. For example, I read this beautifully illustrated book on the construction of a cathedral and built this stylish cardboard maquette. Did doing any of this really help make Dwarves and Cathedrals a better experience? I'm not entirely sure, but I can say this helps make the project more eye-opening and exciting. I gave myself permission to delve into new territory. Since we're talking about exploring new ideas and jumping down rabbit holes, a few weeks ago Liam and I took a break from Dwarves and Cathedrals and took part in the WoWie Game Jam. Although we didn't finish our game, I still think it's a project worth mentioning. The theme of the Game Jam was collaborate with AI. Having just recently discovered an AI tool called Midjourney, which generates incredible artwork based on whatever you type in here, we tried blending Leonardo da Vinci and the building of great cathedrals. So for example, I can type Dwarves and Cathedrals and get images that look like this. So what happens if I type Leonardo da Vinci, old sketch, and dragon, for example? Well, we have some fascinating designs. As you can see, I made a ton of these, including a bunch of cathedral sketches that look as if they could very well have been drawn by the Grandmaster himself. So we began assembling various cards, from three-eyed pigs and twinkling gold mines to creepy wizards and boats. And so the game goal is to manage these 7 key resources to build a cathedral. If any falls dangerously close to 0, you'll lose.
Now, where were we? Ah yes, demons. Adding those definitely added a layer of challenge, but it wasn't enough. We needed more.
VM suggested we implement the Plague. This is a ghastly wave of doom that spreads from dwarf to dwarf, punishing players who forsake hygiene. Many great cathedrals were built around the 12th and 14th century, a time when the Black Death ran rampant in Europe. It only felt fitting to add this spooky pandemic to our middle-age fantasy-style game. Like for the building of the cathedral, curing the illness is far from realistic. You can build bathtubs which spawn bubbles that instantly remove the sickness. It's a nice random event that keeps players on their toes and shakes things up when you have hundreds of dwarves running about, spreading the disease like wildfire. With that said, the final enemy players must worry about is faith. Centuries ago, people didn't have the high-tech tools or sophisticated know-how of today, and relied greatly on well-worn craftsman secrets, hard-earned experience, and of course a heap load of faith in their gods to build high into the sky. Without faith in their grand, beautiful mission, without faith in their skills and deity, all the labor, knowledge, and resources count for nothing. And so dwarves turn into tiny, fiery monsters when faith reaches a dangerously low value. The player gains faith by building pieces of the cathedral, but loses some when making mines, quarries, taverns, and the like. We also added tiny doomsayers that run around the village, heralding doom and despair to add atmosphere and a warning sign to players. Now, a great deal of time was also spent adding sounds to the world. Now, my brother and I aren't sound designers or musicians, so we often just try and look online for the juiciest, best sound effects to implement into our game.
Exactly.
Our best online resources are the YouTube audio library, freesound.org, and the ultimate sound effects pack from the Unity asset store. Here's a tiny preview of the game without sounds, and here we have the world with sounds.
Now, my brother and I debated if we should sell this game for a couple of dollars, but we decided that the feedback from the community is more important, and so we put the game completely for free. So click the link in the description and play the game, and let us know in the comment sections what you thought about it. Your feedback is essential.
This remains a small project, and we want to make many more of such scope before tackling once again larger scale endeavors. Mostly because we love experimenting, exploring new ideas, and we really want to try this new way of working, where we explore some topic, be it cathedrals, clocks, or ants, and make some game based on it. Still, despite being made in only a few weeks, we think Dwarves and Cathedrals will be well worth your time, and I think it's one of my most interesting looking games. Now, of course, told like this, it may seem like building this digital cathedral was a real walk in the park, when the reality was pretty different. So here's a quick bullet speed rundown of all the problems and challenges we faced, so you feel a little less alone when plagued with bugs and doubts. We used plastic SCM to sync progress, which seems to constantly crash Unity over and over again. Doors would never reach the 3rd floor elevators, making the game impossible to win. UI wouldn't detect clicks. Turns out I accidentally deleted the event system. Either the game was too easy, too hard, doors wouldn't get infected, towers wouldn't shoot, doors would vanish, buttons wouldn't work, doors wouldn't work, the UI, too many doors, crash the game.
But of course, the nuisance of a new problem always gives way to the satisfaction of solving it.
With that said, what are the main lessons learned? As I mentioned before, the joy of learning something new and following one's curiosity, in this case some very simple architecture and history, was well worth the time spent away from Unity. When making a game about building a cathedral, you can't help but think about the work people went through all those centuries ago, how they did it, the sacrifices they made, and the courage they showed. Therefore, acting lazy and tired for needing to draw and code seems way off topic and mildly pathetic in comparison. If our ancestors built giants, so can we, step by step. With that said, guys, thanks a ton for watching. Make sure to play Dwarves and Cathedrals using the link in the description, and of course subscribe to the channel if you're curious about the world of game development and just want to learn more about how games are made and what we actually create, what we're going to build in the future, because I assure you, me and my brother have just gotten started. We are hungry, we're going to create awesome stuff.
Yeah, let us know what you think of the game, what we can improve on, what you liked, what you disliked. It really helps us a ton. So yeah, don't hesitate to comment.
Alright, cheers!
Cheers, guys!